So, hello, love. I'd like to tell you stories because I know that when I was growing up, my dad was a minister and we'd go to church a lot. And when people would tell their stories from the pulpit, then I listened. I paid attention to the story, or they would tell a story about was in the Bible or whatever, and I paid attention. The stories mattered. And so, but when they sat there spouting quoting a lot of Bible verses and things like that, I just kind of didn't pay attention. But the stories mattered. And it is a way that for the entire humanity, people would sit around the fire and listen to stories. And it's what caused them to believe in themselves and caused them to maybe believe in the mystical nature of what the storyteller had to say or what that might have been that meant something to them. Because I know when I hear a story or I read a book, or I watch a movie or something like that, I might relate to some of the things that are told, the ways that they're told. So that's why I tell you so many stories. So when I was really little, my folks, we went to a neighbor's cabin up in the mountains, and we did that until I was 7 years old. And my mom was walking down the river road, and she saw a cabin for sale. And she knew that my father would have loved to be have a cabin near the river so he could fish, because that was kind of his meditative process. He loved to fish. She herself would have loved to have had a mountain view, but you can't be in the valley and also have a mountain view. At least it's a rare occurrence. So anyway, they bought this cabin. They fixed it up over the years, and so I grew up there. We'd spend a good many weekends and sometimes weeks at a time at the cabin, and we would fish. My dad would teach me to fish. I helped with some of the less of the chores. My mom cooked on a iron cook stove in the kitchen, which took a much longer time to cook anything because you had to put wood in the fire um, and keep that fire burning all day long to heat the cabin and also to cook. And it took a lot more time. And the food was much better up there because of everything she prepared. She was a wonderful cook, but everything she prepared. At nighttime, my mom would sit under a lamp. We did have electricity. That's the one thing we did have. But she'd sit under a lamp and she'd read her books because she was an avid reader. But my dad would sit outside with me and we would sit in lawn chairs and we'd look up at the stars. And I would wait until I saw 5 shooting stars and then it was time to go in. And we sat out there for the longest time, and he sat out there with me. And there were critters out there. You could hear them, you could see them kind of in the shadows. But it's the stars that really just left me in this place of otherworldly wonder of seeing the stars and the shooting stars and some of the constellations, of which my favorite one, of course, was the Big Dipper. And it's right there in the valley. There's mountains here and mountains here and mountains in front of us. So there's just a little window where we could see through, but we could always see the Big Dipper. So after we would watch the stars and I saw my 5 shooting stars, we'd go inside and I would make popcorn on the iron cook stove. When you'd open up the lid, which is a big heavy iron lid, and there are several of them, but one of them was there so that there would be more fire that would come to the pan. And I would take a pan and put oil in it and put popcorn oil, or excuse me, popcorn kernels in the pan, and I'd shake it over the fire and make popcorn for my dad and me. And I'd melt butter and stir it up in there and add some salt, and it was real popcorn, it was really something. And then we each had like a soda along with that, and we play cards. And we played all kinds of different kinds of cards, but mostly we played canasta. And to end the evening, my dad always called it the championship of the evening game, of which he always let me win. And I was always so thrilled because I beat my dad. Little did I realize that he was letting me win, but he was very gracious about things like that. So that was this huge gift that they gave me. There's more stories about the cabin I'll share with you another time. But those remain with me. These things that I learned in childhood and the beauty of the mountains and the stream that was 20 feet from the front door, always going by. And you hear that stream at night when you're going to sleep. And it was just gorgeous. You'd be there from the springtime into the fall, and we'd have to close the cabin down for wintertime because we just needed to do that. And I'll explain that another time too. But anyway, it was just beautiful. It remains with me. It's still my favorite place. It's still my favorite place. So at night here, where my husband and I live, I sit out on the deck late at night, sometimes like 1 in the morning, and I sit out there when the traffic has gone down and the city lights where we live are not as bright as they are if we lived a little farther close to the central of Colorado Springs, but we live a little higher up in the altitude and we're a little farther north, closer to a forest. And there's just less city lights here. So you can see the stars better at night. And I sit under there and I see the Big Dipper, which arcs over into Arcturus, which is now my favorite star and has been for years because it's this massive, huge, humongous star, far bigger than Earth herself, far bigger than any planet that we have. And it is magnificent. And it's orange and it sparkles in the sky. And it's the arc of the handle of the Big Dipper that comes down and points right at Arcturus. So I always look for Arcturus each night. I look for different stars that I know and different constellations I'm familiar with. And I'm just with the beauty and the grace of the beauty of this light shining down upon us. And I settle down. It's cooler at night. I calm down. My body temperature cools down with the air around me. And I sit in the quiet. I sit in the stillness. And it's just beautiful. So I share the story with you to help you just to remember things that you knew when you were a child that still live within you and to reignite some of that within you. Reignite some of those stories, some of the things that you knew, some of the things that maybe you taught your own children or your grandchildren. I wasn't gifted to have kids, but I do know a lot of little kids in the neighborhood that are absolutely precious. And I hope that they get to see the stars at night and they get to see the wonder of the universe and the beauty and the grace of animals in the wild and the trees and the plants and the nature of this beautiful earth in which we live. And so I leave that with you today. And also, of course, this painting behind is really more representing water with the sunlight behind the water in this beautiful shade of blue. And I love that. What I'm wearing is actually comes from one of the things that I have created. I created this piece I'm wearing. This this that I'm wearing, actually, you can see in my website. I'll leave my website here, and you can open up at the bottom. It'll invite you to go to two different sites where some of my art is, and then some of the things I've created are. But this particular piece comes from a photograph that when my husband and I were at the Lake of the Ozarks and the blue light would shine upon the water at night, and we go out on the boat and I would take photographs of how the water shined on the light. And this is how it came across. It's pretty cool. So there's all kinds of things that we can do to be creative, which I believe is part of the life force that's going to save our planet is our creativity. It's the art that we share, um, the love of what we do, and the peace in which we live. And if it means sitting under the stars at night or creating something beautiful and wonderful that lights up your life, that causes you to become something greater still because you're in the zone when you do it, whatever it is that makes you come alive. I so celebrate you today, knowing that this is who you are. And as Grandma always said, loving you bunches. Bye for now.